U.S. Navy ambushed a drug submarine. What they found inside shocked the world. October 6, 2025, 1:58 a.m. The Gulf of Mexico lay flat and dark, an endless sheet of water reflecting no stars. To most, it was calm. To the United States Navy, it was hiding something. Inside a radar control room near Key West, an operator caught a faint echo on his screen. An object crawling through the sea at 6 knots, half submerged, no transponder, no radio contact. It drifted north toward American waters like a ghost with a heartbeat. The data bounced to the Coast Guard's Area Command, where an algorithm flagged it. Possible semi-submersible contact. That label instantly changed the room. Coffee cups were dropped, chairs pushed back, and within seconds, a chain of alerts was lighting up monitors across the Gulf. By 2:06 a.m., the feed reached the USS Thomas Hudner, a Navy destroyer on patrol less than 90 nautical miles away. Commander Isaac Monroe leaned over the console. The anomaly had no identification, but its heat trail was faint, too faint for any fishing trawler. Whatever was moving out there, it wanted to stay invisible. Above the clouds, an MQ-9 Reaper drone scanned the sea in infrared. A thin orange smear appeared on the surface, an engine's exhaust leaking heat through the waves. At first, analysts thought it was a malfunction. Then the AI confirmed, metallic hull, 40 feet long, 4 distinct thermal signatures inside, a narco-submarine. By 2:18 a.m., Naval Station Pensacola issued a priority tasking. 2 vessels, the Hudner and the Coast Guard cutter Hamilton, were authorized to shadow the target. Their orders were precise: observe, record, await confirmation. No engagement without proof. Out on the water, the Hudner cut its engines to silent running. The ocean was ink black. Even the waves seemed afraid to break. On deck, sailors whispered, eyes scanning the horizon where the radar blinked every few seconds. Each flash was a heartbeat. Each gap felt like eternity. At 2:30 a.m., the Reaper transmitted a new image, a blurred cylinder moving parallel to 2 smaller boats 20 miles south. The escort vessels were running dark, no lights, no signals. Whoever was out there wasn't sneaking drugs by chance. They were conducting a coordinated operation. By 2:35 a.m., the cartel's route matched intelligence data from a server in Puerto La Cruz, Venezuela. It was the same network that the DEA had flagged months earlier, suspected supplier of multi-ton meth shipments heading for the United States. This time, they were too close. Commander Monroe spoke quietly. Lock tracking on target. Maintain distance until authorization. The crew watched in silence as the submarine's signal slipped beneath the surface again. It was there, then gone, like a heartbeat fading under the waves. And no one yet knew that the cartel had a trap waiting for them in the dark. If you want to see how this mission unfolds, stay with us. The next few minutes will reveal something no one in Naval Command was prepared for. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when the U.S. Navy makes contact T. 2:41 a.m. The moon was gone, smothered by storm clouds. The Gulf was a void, the horizon a line of ink. Inside the Hudner's combat room, green screens flickered. Maintain distance, Monroe ordered. Lights off. Weapons cold. On radar, the sub was barely a ghost, a dot appearing and vanishing. Its escorts moved faster, zigzagging like predators circling prey. Then the drone feed twitched. A flare glowed beneath the surface. Orange, faint, too consistent to be exhaust. That's a beacon, an analyst said. Them. They see us. A heartbeat later, Gunfire ripped the silence. 2 speedboats erupted from the dark, their engines screaming. Tracer rounds sliced through the night. Bullets hammered the waves beside the Hudner. Contact! Contact! Return fire! The ship's 50 caliber machine guns answered. One cartel boat exploded into a ball of flame. The other vanished behind smoke. But then sonar detected a larger signature rising from below, the submarine itself. It wasn't retreating. It was charging straight at them. Brace! Monroe shouted. The helmsman turned hard to port. Through the spray, a shadow burst from the water, steel painted dark green, streaming with salt. 2 men stood on its hatch. One shouldered an RPG. The blast came a second later. A fireball erupted, waves crashed over the deck, and the Hudner shuddered as shrapnel slammed into its hull. Sailors hit the floor. One screamed for damage control. From the sky, the Seahawk helicopter banked hard and opened fire. Its GAU-21 machine gun spat tracer rounds down like white-hot rain. The Cartel sub's periscope snapped. One gunman fell into the sea. The rest ducked back inside. Then the vessel dived. Within seconds, it was gone again, bubbles hissing across the surface. Sonar screens flattened to static. Silence returned. "Did we lose them?" someone asked. Monroe shook his head. "They're not running. They're waiting below them." A low hum vibrated through the hull, a whisper of electric motors creeping closer. The Cartel sub was moving slowly, circling, testing the Navy's blind spot. This was no ordinary drug run. It was an engineered trap, a prototype meant to fight back. And in the next 10 minutes, the Navy would discover that this machine was unlike anything they'd ever faced before. 2:53 a.m. The sea had gone silent again, but every man aboard the Thomas Hudner could feel the vibration. Somewhere beneath them, the Cartel sub was alive, humming quietly in the dark. In the operations room, sonar waves rolled across the screen like a heartbeat. Then faintly another sound appeared, low, rhythmic, mechanical. "Propeller noise," an operator whispered. 42 hertz, repeating every 19 seconds. It wasn't moving away, it was circling. Commander Monroe stared at the display. "That thing's studying us." He ordered the Seahawk helicopter to climb and switch to thermal scanning. The feed came back ghostly white and orange, a heat signature roughly 38 feet long, tracing wide arcs around the destroyer. The Cartel crew was methodical, patient, and frighteningly skilled. "Permission to engage?" the co-pilot asked. Monroe hesitated. The order hadn't come from command yet. The Pentagon still wanted visual confirmation before authorizing lethal force. Bureaucracy in the middle of a war zone. Then it happened. A plume of bubbles burst to the surface. The sub had launched something. A metallic shape shot upward, slicing through the water. It wasn't a torpedo, it was a decoy flare, meant to blind the radar. "Countermeasures deployed," shouted the radar tech. Monroe slammed a fist on the console. "Enough! Execute Delta One. We take them now." In a single motion, the ship's engines roared back to life. The Hudner pivoted sharply starboard, cutting across the sub's predicted path. Overhead, the Seahawk dove low, spraying tracer rounds into the waves. Each impact lit the water in orange flashes. "Contact reacquired," the sonar officer yelled. The sub was surfacing. Through the storm of mist and fire, the dark hull broke through the water. It was massive, more refined than any handmade smuggling craft Monroe had ever seen. Sleek, armored, coated with matte polymer that shimmered black under the searchlights. "Fire warning shots!" The Hudner's deck cannons thundered. Shells tore the surface apart. But the Cartel sub didn't stop. It angled straight toward them, engines roaring. "Impact in 30 seconds!" The Seahawk pilot unleashed the full fury of his gun. Tracers poured down in a torrent. The sub's hull erupted in sparks and steel splinters. Inside, one of the Cartel crewmen tried to steer away, but the rudder jammed. The sub twisted violently, scraping against the Navy ship's hull before spinning off into open water. "Target disabled," shouted a sailor. The order came immediately. "Boarding team, go!" 4 Navy RIV boats deployed from the Hamilton, racing across the dark surface. Water sprayed in sheets of silver light as 24 armed agents closed in. Their night vision goggles glowed green through the mist. As they approached, the sub began to list, smoke pouring from a cracked vent. Someone inside was still trying to scuttle it, blow the evidence before capture. "Move now!" a voice roared. The first boarding team leaped onto the steel hull, magnetic boots locking them in place. Sparks flew as they cut through the hatch. A hiss of pressure. Then the door blew open. What the Navy found inside would silence the room for the rest of the night. 4:12 a.m. The hatch blew open with a metallic scream, and a rush of foul air hit the boarding crew. Diesel fumes, salt, and something chemical that burned their throats. Flashlights cut through the darkness. The interior was narrow, no more than 4 feet high, its walls slick with condensation and streaked with black soot. Inside, 2 Cartel operators lay unconscious, thrown against the bulkhead by the impact. Behind them, steel drums were strapped to the floor with nylon webbing. One drum had split open, spilling white powder across the deck. A Marine scooped a handful, stared, and whispered, "That's crystal meth." By 4:20 a.m., the rest of the team secured the vessel. The sub's engine bay was worse, a maze of scorched cables and half-melted circuits. But beneath the chaos, investigators spotted something no one expected. A sealed black box wired into the throttle. When they pried it open, it wasn't a GPS. It was a custom autopilot system stamped with Chinese markings. Shenzhen Dynamics Corp. Commander Monroe radioed back to the Hudner. "We have foreign tech down here. Repeat, foreign tech inside a Cartel sub." Minutes later, as dawn crept across the horizon, the sub was tethered to the Hamilton for extraction. The sea around them shimmered with oil and debris, but the mission wasn't over. Divers entered the hull at sunrise to collect evidence. Beneath a false wall, they uncovered another compartment, rows of lithium-ion batteries arranged like a Tesla pack. Enough energy to power the craft for 600 nautical miles without surfacing. The engineers who reviewed the footage later said it looked more like a military drone than a smuggling vessel. Every bolt had been wrapped in carbon tape to reduce sonar reflection. Every vent was coated in radar-absorbing polymer. This wasn't improvised, it was industrial. 7:45 a.m., Pensacola Naval Air Station. The captured sub rested on a steel cradle, dripping seawater onto the hangar floor. Around it stood officers from the Navy, DEA, and Homeland Security. When analysts downloaded the navigation logs, they froze. 3 completed voyages were recorded, routes from Venezuela to Tampa Bay and Mobile, Alabama. If those were real, millions of dollars worth of narcotics had already slipped into the country undetected. Commander Monroe looked at the cracked hull one last time. "This isn't smuggling anymore," he said quietly. "It's escalation." By evening, the Pentagon raised patrol levels across the Gulf. Drones doubled, radar nets widened, and coastal fishermen were told to report any low-profile craft. Yet even with victory secured, the crews of the Hudner and Hamilton felt no triumph. For every submarine they stopped, another was being welded in a jungle workshop somewhere south of the equator. As the sun set over the Gulf, Monroe stood on deck watching the wreck fade into orange light. The sea looked calm again, too calm. He whispered, "Let them come. We'll be ready if you believe America's strength must never fade beneath the waves. Then stand with us. Subscribe now and help keep these untold missions alive."